Okay. And I think we have a quorum. I'm just looking. We have Peter Cable. We have.
Okay. So the first order of business is to approve the minutes of December 10th.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, are there any changes, any additions, deletions, questions?
Oh, good job, Suzanne.
If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries and the minutes are approved.
Excuse me, Evan.
So moved.
So wait a minute, hang on. All right, Greg, you have a question?
Yeah, I just, Amanda, you seem to have gotten muted somehow. So can you figure out how to get your voice back? You're good. Okay, work that, Evan.
Okay, good. So the next item on the agenda is the annual meeting, and so we.
Amanda, you're back on.
I don't know why it keeps going. Anyway, let's.
We're all set, Evan.
Yeah, we're cutting, Amanda's cutting out though. You're muted, Amanda.
Now you're good.
Okay, thank you.
Don't touch
Okay.
it.
Good.
Okay, the 2022 officer election. Do we have a slate? Are we staying the same as we were in 2021?
Amanda, you're muted again.
Unless someone wants to run, I think the slate will be the same.
Okay. Does anyone want to move the slate?
I will move the slate.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second. Am I allowed to?
Second.
As an alternate? I don't know how my vote counts.
I think we had, Greg, did you second?
Yeah, I did not end it.
Oh, Ann did. Okay. And she's okay as an alternate?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine. If nobody.
Evan?
Yes.
I think that Ann actually technically can vote because we have 3 missing members, so she would be the 6th person. She would be a voting member for this.
Okay. All right. So you're voting as a regular member, Ann.
Woohoo!
So we have Amanda and Evan as co-chairs, Greg as secretary. I don't know. That's the slate. Do we have a treasurer or not? I don't think so.
No, we do not.
Okay. So that's the slate. So we have a motion and a second. And so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the slate carries and the officers are elected. So we have some membership changes, and some um, well-deserved acknowledgement of some very long standing, in one case, Peter Cable. You're leaving the board. Is that, do I understand that right,
No, no treasure.
Peter? I don't know, we seem to be having some trouble here. Peter,
Amanda,
can,
you're muted too. I'm not sure why you keep losing your sound.
Peter, can you hear me?
Peter?
I'm going to put something in the chat.
Okay.
Or we could hold up a sign. Peter, can you hear us?
Now he just kind of got off.
Yes,
So,
Okay,
okay.
yes.
okay, you're back on, Peter, because we lost you for a little bit for the
Yep.
sound. Anyway, I wanted just simply to acknowledge your long-standing membership in the Open Space Commission. I think, I'm not sure,
Yes, I can
When-
hear you. Do you
I'm
hear
not sure
me?
when, yeah, we can hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So Peter, do you know when you joined the Open Space Commission? It's been a long time. Peter? No, we seem to be having some difficulty, and getting, Peter, can you hear me?
Oh,
If you can't hear,
don't know why.
oh, there you go. Okay.
I think one of the issues may be, it seems as if Peter may be buffering because I see a spinning wheel in front of his image.
Mm.
And Amanda, you are still muted for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so it says mute now. Um,
It has.
Peter, Evan was giving you a wonderful testimony
Uh,
to your.
I don't know when I joined, actually.
But it's been a long time. I mean, it's certainly as long as I've been on, and as long as Amanda's been on.
I've been on 18 years, and you've always been there. You've been a wonderful, wise man leading us through, making us have a conscience. You brought up diversity in our open space plan. You've added so much. I hope you'll come back as a guest and give
Yeah.
us a shake every once in a while.
Keep us on the straight and narrow, Peter. Also, so thank you for your service, and I hope you will, come back and enlighten us where we need enlightening.
You'll be very dearly missed, Peter.
Yeah.
Love your insight and your calm presence and approaches to situations.
I think
I
it would
think
be
it's
lovely.
about,
I think it would be
yes,
lovely
I think,
if once we're past this quarantine, semi-quarantine period again, we could all get together, perhaps at the O-Line one Inn or whatever, and clink a glass with you and toast your long service to the town, Peter.
Thank you.
yes.
And we're also losing as a member Steve Calcaney, who is not as long-standing a member, but has been a valuable member, good advice, and some good thoughts on acquisitions. And I'm hoping that Steve
Thank you.
also
Thank you.
um, will not be a stranger and be willing to, on an ad hoc basis, consult on various issues, especially with
Yes.
acquisition.
Good.
So Steve, thank you for serving the town and serving on the Open Space Commission, and we really appreciate your willingness to be a member, an active member, and sorry that you're leaving.
You know that.
That said, Evan, that means that we have two members vacating the board. So would it be appropriate that the two alternates, Anne and Claudio, move up into the membership?
Yes, I think that so that we have a full complement of full-time members.
Okay, and so and I'm not sure of Bruce's status, but we'll be looking for two alternates. So if the people on the call and people listening could pass that along, we welcome people to join us and attend a meeting to let us know what their thoughts are. Be greatly appreciated.
Good. Well, moving along, can we go, Peter Norris, to your land report?
First off, I'd like to raise a glass to Peter Cable. So,
Oh, right, there he is.
Yeah.
There, Peter.
but thanks, Peter. You brought me on board originally, and so I want to thank you on that. Actually, the last couple of months, the trails have been great. There are not many trees have come down in terms of weather. So it's been, other than the water level rising more on the Bartholomew, one of the bridges, all the trails have been very good. So there's really not much to report. It's been quiet, so been happy about that.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Just as an aside, Peter, my guess is that water levels, I mean, besides what if they're beaver activity, that's an obvious water level rise. But it seems to me, from all the reports I'm getting from around the state, is that our rainfall in 2021 has been higher than normal by about 1.5 times the normal rainfall, and even the Connecticut River is overtopping some wharfs and docks. And I heard a report from the River Quest, the tour boat, that their dock has been underwater several times.
Thank you.
So my sense is that all the issues with the Ames open space and Black Hall Pond has been partly due to increased rainfall due to climate change.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Andrea mentioned about redesigning one of the bridges anyway. So
Yeah, well, we've got a couple of groups. We've got one working on the Bartholomew trail, and then we have to find another project for a group from the Congregational Church.
Well, there's always invasive removal.
yeah, that's true. So I won't be able to make Andrea's work party this month, but I'll be back in February. So I'm planning on helping you then if you
Great.
get that scheduled. So
Okay,
February
good.
Right.
3rd.
Thanks, Peter.
yep.
Okay, again, moving right along, existing business, open space property updates. Amanda, do you want to lead off?
I just want to mention that hopefully the next town meeting will have the McCulloch conservation modification on the agenda. And also that I just received a bill from Richard Gates, who did the survey for us for the affordable housing lots. And he submitted his bill of $2,800. And so I'm going to make a motion that we pay this bill. We had told the Affordable Housing Commission that we had money left over from a carryover, and we would use it to speed that process along so that we could get our $100,000 back. So I'd like a motion to pay for the $2,800 Richard Gates survey bill for the McCulloch building envelope so that they can be affordable housing lots.
So moved?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you. I'll pay the bill.
Amanda, do you have a date yet for the town meeting? Do you know when that might be held?
No, I haven't heard anything on it, and I don't know how they're going to do it, so I don't, that's up to the selectman's office. I will say we have budget hearings coming up this end of January through March. We submitted our budget. We didn't increase it. Greg, Evan, and I attended a meeting with Nicole, Board of Director of Finance, and we reconfigured our budget and changed the categories and created anything for repairs or work would now go under contracted services stewardship, and reduce the other headings to a miscellaneous, and then we have clerk. So we hope that'll work better. We did put in a capital expenditure of $3,000 for software and $7,000 for the ferry landing project, and asked that if we had, because the capital expenditure has to be approved by the Board of Finance and can only be used for those items. And there's no carryover from that, but I did say in our request that if we had carryover funds, we would be glad to use that initially first. However, we've just about depleted 1 year of carryover, and the second year of carryover we have saved for the spillway of beaver deceiver on the McCulloch Pond. I think we've finished most of our projects. The only thing really left to work on is Champlain North, the signs and the fencing. So maybe this winter we can work on those two projects. And
Can I ask you a quick question, Amanda?
yes,
Would we be able to use some of the $3,000 for software to have somebody assist us, have a talented high school student or college student or whatever to provide some consulting advice for us?
I did ask Andrea about that, and since I'm taking a little bit of a hiatus for about 8 weeks, I said when I get back, and if it gets approved, we should meet a couple of us and discuss it. But it depends on what they have. I'm kind of waiting to hear if other commissions are going to be doing this too. I don't know. We seem to be floundering on commissions and storage of documents, and it's a concern. I don't know how they address it. I mean, we all have documents folders in our home, and we're losing part of the history of the town. It's because it's not being stored properly. So I'm going to follow through. I'm working with planning a little bit on that, and they're looking for some space in the basement. The problem is that unless you can lock it or something, everybody can get in there. And I'm not sure what everybody in our records.
Oh, we saw how sacrosanct our records were when we had them in the back room and everything ended up on the floor.
Oh, I know. We have a history of getting to be stepchild for our records. But hopefully we can work through this. I think we have a lot of talented people on the commission who have experience with this, and so maybe, and then reach out to the land trust, see what they're doing, and, you know, share our thoughts on it. So, any other questions on updates for open space properties?
Well, I just had an issue. I sent you and Evan an email. I don't know if you had an opportunity to review it, but this has to do with the budget, where I don't know if we'll prefer to meet in person or remotely, but somebody is moving stuff around. So if you are, please try to refrain from that. Michelle Nolan can't really start the meeting for us in the future. So she said that
Can
she's
Ann mute? I
Pardon?
think if maybe if Ann and everyone else mutes, because there's a lot of feedback, and just unmute when you're talking.
Yeah, we seem to be fine now. So if we want to meet remotely, Michelle Noren has suggested that we and other boards and commissions each take out a WebEx contract, which would run $300 for the year. So we need to consider basic. I don't know that we need to make a decision this evening, but if we're going to do remote meetings through the course of the year, and goodness knows what the future is going to hold, that's probably what we're going to need to do. So that's another expense to consider, Amanda.
I think I might be interested in doing that as as a line item, so the Board of Finance can address it, because when I checked with Michelle, there are 4 or 5 people or commissions that are going to be doing that. If you get 10 commissions, that's $3,000 out of town funds. It just seems to me there ought to be a different way. We can do a conference and call in, but anyway, I'm the last person that's computer savvy, but it does seem.
Yeah, if we're going to have to continue with the with remote meetings like tonight, then I think that it would probably be wise to invest in the $300 expense to get the WebEx connection.
I think so, but Greg, then Michelle said that you would have to, or somebody would have to be the host, set it all up, do all the work. So it's not only.
No. She did that this evening, Amanda, but she's going to be starting graduate school. So she'll not be able to do that in the future. Ergo, right. She wants us to basically be on our own.
Right. So that's what she said today, that we would have to host it. We would have to set it up. We would have to do. So it's not only the expense, it's the responsibility of one person taking ownership of the project and making sure that the address goes out, that they're hosting, they're available. So it's.
I would be happy to do that. You know, if that's where we want to go, if I can get a little bit of advice from Michelle, and I'd be happy to reach out to her, because I'm not familiar with this program at all, and it's I don't think it's as intuitive as Zoom.
Well, there's another person, she said other commissions are using their Zoom accounts. So, and the thing is, so if we spend $300 and then after 2 months, everybody's meeting in public, then we've spent $300 for 2 meetings.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe look into seeing how much Zoom is.
Yeah, I find Zoom easier to navigate.
Yeah.
I think that the issue is that corporations and certainly, obviously, it appears the way Oline feels more comfortable with WebEx, because it's less prone to be hacked, or to have people basically jump on who are unauthorized.
Oh, I see.
Well, we should discuss it before the next meeting.
Well, let's see how the health situation is in a couple of weeks too.
Okay. How about Anne? Do you want to do a ferry landing? I think Anne's on mute.
Evan, did you want to mention anything about?
Well, I was debating, we were debating whether to save the Ames acquisition for the executive session at the end.
Okay.
So I think we'll do that.
Okay, so Anne,
Did you need to ask me something? Sorry, I had to step away just for a minute.
oh, sorry, we're going on to item 5B, ferry landing.
Okay. I'm here.
Thank you.
Do you want me to just launch into
Yeah,
it?
launch into it.
Launch.
So sort of the thing that's omnipresent on my mind is this grant with the Connecticut, or the Community Foundation of Eastern Connecticut, which is due the day after tomorrow. And it sort of, it came on our horizon very recently. So we've kind of been scrambling. Andrea and Greg have both been super helpful, you know, talking me down off the ledge and providing lots of good data for me to incorporate. So we've made some really exciting connections with Three Rivers Community College, and that's looking very promising. And you know, I think it's coming together, but you know, still a ways to go. But that would be a really nice feather in our cap to sort of kick off this project with, and have you know, have some money and sort of you know, credentials, as it were, to say, you know, maybe other people should give us money for even more work that can be done there. So other than that, there's, you know, in terms of what's going on the site, there really, you know, there's not much to report. We have you know, I have reached out to all of the various experts that have been nice enough to work with us over the last 6-8 months that we've been, you know, developing this project, and they've all officially signed on to be on our advisory panel. So so that's Fred Berenger and Denise Savageau. Sorry, that declines that. And her partner, Mike Aurelia. So all three of those folks are on board. And I'm trying to think if there was another.
Pat Shippey.
Oh,
yeah.
You know, I didn't include Pat Shippey, but I can certainly reach out to her. But I did put Suzanne Thompson on there, and then we have the Professor Dibba Khan Bureau. She's still getting used to her name, from Three Rivers, that has also said that, you know, in addition to sort of partnering with us, we can count her in as an advisor for the project. So, so it's a pretty robust group, and I think, you know, I think it's looking really good to do some mainly focusing in the first year only at this point on documentation. So site, you know, photographing, water quality sampling, some maybe take the species identification work that Fred has initiated a little, you know, a few steps further and integrated into a database or something. And then a lot of opportunity for educational outreach, in addition to involving the Three Rivers community college students who would be helping out with the documentation work. We can also, you know, hope to do at least 2, I think I said, sorry, my computer is dying. At least 2 community education programs. And I was thinking, you know, one of them could be as simple as having a booth at Midsummer festival, with some nice displays and maybe even a giveaway of some native plants and things. And then maybe a lecture at some point, or public, presentation that,
I think the library might be a nice venue for that, Ann.
sorry,
I think the library might be a nice venue for a presentation. I
sure,
think they'd be happy to work with us.
great, yeah. Good.
And can I ask, have you been in touch with any of the neighbors of the pond and the neighbors of our open space, the upland portion of our open space? We have quite a few people who border our pond, and a couple of, maybe only one person who's abutting our upland area. I just wondered
Right.
if you had been in touch with any of them.
Right, I have not. I think, we had approved the project and the name change just not too long before Thanksgiving.
Right.
And so, and I think also you and I were communicating about, maybe meeting to discuss some Phragmites options and just discuss
Yeah.
in general what's going on with Phragmites management. I have to actually circle back also with, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name.
Malcolm?
Malcolm, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if he ever did the Phragmites.
Right, I don't know. To my knowledge, I don't believe so, but he was held up with this supply chain issue where the parts for his machine were in Los Angeles Harbor or something like that. So I will circle back with him on that, but I have not reached out to the private property owners. I kind of wanted to be able to develop, how we're going to do that, whether it's we send a letter out to them all, or we just sort of, I can informally knock on doors for at least two of them. But there's two houses that are still under construction. One property there isn't even a structure on.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get the name of whoever just bought those last two lots down at the end.
I was just thinking those
don't know
are
that
the
that's-
ones that we should be aware of, because if they start clearing or cutting, and we
Right.
talked about doing possibly in the spring, maybe a little cocktail party or gathering, the neighbors, a meet and greet, and so give them an informal talk of what we'd like to do.
Right, exactly.
And gather their thoughts about what or what shouldn't happen. I mean, I'd be curious to know what the reaction is.
Yeah,
And
I mean, unfortunately, I think there's going to be a lot of nodding and yes, that sounds great, but whether or not that really, is their, whether that turns into action or lack of action, as
Yeah.
the case may be, is, remains to be seen. But certainly, it's always good to take the temperature. And I don't know whether actually the recent purchases are of record yet, whether we can see the name of the person or
Oh
persons.
yeah, they were in the newspaper, so they're a record. I would just think that before we did a presentation to the library, that I would rather do it to the neighbors, so they wouldn't say, "Well, I heard the library."
Oh, no, yeah, I was, I may have been like
Yeah.
not being very clear, but the, educational aspects that we're going to be hoping to get grant monies for would not take place until late summer or fall. And between now and then, I think there's a lot more closer to home outreach, that doesn't cost anything really, that we definitely need to move forward with.
In the past, we have done a midsummer, and then it was postponed for 2 years. And the last time we did it, our focus was on, one of our focuses was on beavers. And so maybe this would be an opportunity this time to make our focal point development or non-development of one of our open spaces. And while I'm thinking of it, just a couple of quick things. Either a letter to the Board of Selectmen or attending one of their meetings to just announce that we have changed the name and
Right.
kicking this off. And hopefully it would be before the Board of Finance meeting. And when we go to the Board of Finance meeting, and I don't think I'll be there because unless they do it remotely, since we're asking for funds for a capital expenditure, I would hope that you would be willing to go and talk to them about this project that we're doing.
Of course, very happy to.
I think we need to get the order lined up. So I think the Board of Selectmen should, we should say to them that we have changed the name to reflect the history of the area. These are our goals. We're applying for grants. And then they're aware of it. And then when we go to the Board of Finance, and then also as I keep trying to tell myself, it's Fairy Landing. It's Fairy Landing. It's not, because I'm so used to calling it Eklund Pond. It's
Of
just,
course, yeah.
making all of us aware. But yeah, I think we definitely need to get some more PR out there, what we're doing. And then who knows who will, come from that. There might be other people interested in assisting us.
Yeah, but just as a word of caution, I think before we go public PR, we really need to have the neighbors on board.
Okay.
I would say that is
Well,
something before something starts leaking out and we get all sorts of misinformation, and then the neighbors get all up in arms, and we know how that happens. It just,
Yes, it morphs.
Well, so how is that typically done? Like, for instance, if you need to communicate with adjoining property owners, or where you have easements, or when there was the beaver issue, like, is that typically done by letter, or how do you, or you call people? What's generally the best way to do it?
I was thinking, since we have to tell the Board of Selectmen, maybe a nice letter, brief, and then a letter to the people on Sandpiper and Ferry, just saying, welcome neighbor, we abut you on the pond in this. We have enclosed a letter we sent to the Board of Selectmen changing the name to reflect the history. We'd like to meet with you and talk, neighbor to neighbor, what our plans are to make it a wildlife refuge. No trails, I think we need to be specific about it. And then maybe pick a date and see if they can join us.
Right. I mean, again, it may need to be virtual, maybe not even solely because of the pandemic, but because, as I said, two, and I guess the new property owners obviously don't, they don't necessarily live locally. But I'm not sure where the folks whose houses are still being built are located.
The assessor has all those records.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe pick something in the spring and say if social distancing is
that would be good.
A necessity that we could be outside. That's why I was thinking warmer weather.
Yes. Yes.
I have a couple of questions, kind of maybe for Andrea as well as a former board member, Andrea, and someone who flagged that to our attention. Do you have any sense on when the grant awards might come out for this particular grantor?
Yes, they're due Friday. They're reviewed in mid-February, over about a 3 to 4 week period of time. And then the funds are allocated the end of spring, early summer.
I was more concerned about rather than reception of the funds, when the announcement might be made.
When the announcement would be?
Announcement of who the successful applicants are.
Generally speaking, everyone who applies gets some money.
Okay.
You may not get all of what you're asking, but depending upon the quantity, it's possible to get all of it. So that's number one. Two, I think the announcement again coincides with like the end of March-ish, because even though the Environmental Review Committee reviews it, it still goes back to the main board, and all of the grant monies are massaged so that you might put a little bit more in environment, you might put a little less in family and women and children or something, and then you could have a pop-up of pandemic help that then shifts the funding around again. So mid to late spring.
Okay. The other idea I had was I looked at what you sent me very briefly prior to the meeting, and we talk about migratory birds or whatever. Since we've kind of done our report and done and have been evaluated by Rockfall, it might be kind of interesting to move one of our wildlife cameras over there just during the migratory period to see, maybe have it up for about a month at the pond and see what type of birds we see arriving and what kind of bird activity there is on the pond.
Yeah, I actually have a budget item for a camera.
Oh, great.
I want to incorporate that into our, community outreach. Hopefully, we could do like you can go to the website and see the ferry landing cam.
That'd be terrific.
Yeah.
Apropos to that, in terms of another potential funder, we could maybe hit up the Hartford Audubon Society, because there is a reference to the refuge and the wildlife birds. And we have a little intel that part of the funders to this project were Sisters in Line, whose focus is on birds. So Anne has mentioned that in the grant, and so that could also be another applicant, which I believe is due at the end of January, early February, just by the way, but can virtually be
Recycled?
just be recycled.
I don't know. It's going to depend. Let me.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it would be the same material. It's just
I know, but it's still, it has to be done, and there'll be modifications. I'm
so I could help you, but
right. Okay, we'll
just
talk about
throwing it
that.
as a possibility. But if I could just mention that there are 2 letters of support that we're working on getting to submit with the project. And one is from Tim Griswold, who apparently is not back until tomorrow. But Evan, I could send you a copy of the draft letter that, if he approves it, would just put on letterhead, town letterhead, and send it to Anne.
Okay, you got to watch out for what you send me, because sometimes in terms of forwarding things, I've run into some problems in getting letters out to people but
I could walk it over to you tomorrow if that helps.
I can stop by I can stop by by your house and pick it up.
You got to get it on the letterhead too, guys.
Yeah.
Well, we could coordinate, because I'm working up until about 11:30 tomorrow, 11-ish. So I could bring it by before or after.
Okay.
After for you.
Yeah, after for me, probably.
Come over for coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Allow for the letterhead. It's got to be dropped down quite a bit when you do the letter.
Well, it's going to be submitted electronically, so.
Oh, okay. You don't want it on town letterhead, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they must have some sort of a template for doing that. And
Michelle can scan it and email it to you, Anne.
oh,
okay, because I think I have it here. I could send it to you.
Good. Well, it sounds like things are really percolating down there in the Sandpiper Point region. Is there anything further that needs to be discussed on the ferry landing?
I just have one more quick question. Who's the other letter from?
It will be from Heather Freed.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay, that's all. I just needed to. Okay. Okay. No, and great work. I think it's wonderful.
It will be.
Yeah.
It'd be great, Anne.
Yeah.
She's doing a great job.
Well, thank you so much for everybody's help. It's really
Okay,
a village.
well, it's a team effort, and thank you, thank you all.
Mhm.
Andrea, do you want to talk about the
Yes.
Rockfall Foundation?
No, I want to talk about work parties. We haven't heard
Oh.
anything from Rockfall Foundation.
Okay,
January 23rd, it's a, just double checking the date. January 23rd, it's a Sunday. It's in 2 Sundays from now, from 12 to 2. There is a work party to construct a footbridge on the Ames property. And Wayne and I met earlier this week. We did measuring, we talked about the design, and we're looking at 2, maybe 3 8-foot planks of 2 feet wide, with timber locks, with a little screw cap on it. And Wayne will be there, thankfully, and Fred and Stuart Ryan, I believe. So we'll have other people with the hand, bzz, what do you call them, Peter? Bzz, those things.
A-
And
electric screwdriver?
yeah. And
Did Jim give you the lumber? Did you get the lumber?
I didn't have it yet, but when I met with Wayne, he was going to speak with Jim. So things are hopefully in motion to get that. And Wayne knows the time frame and my preference for having it ready so that I could go to the new hardware owner's store and get the timber locks. And I was there. Evan happened to be there, and we talked about the number and the depth of the screw. So there was good community new relations, I think, established with them as well. And there's an account with the town with Old Lime Hardware now. So, and they might even come out to help that day, but that's to be seen. And the
Andrew,
next date,
when you finish those 2 projects,
well,
can
that's
you-
one.
I know, but can I just,
Oh,
can you send, and if Wayne helps you, can you send me an hours and
yes, I'm
material?
keeping track of that.
Okay, because then I can bill accordingly. Thank you.
Yep. And the next date to keep in mind is February 6th, and it's another work party, this time on Champlain North, where we rerouted the bridge, and there's some stones put in the shallow area. So we're going to do a similar bridge, just a short one there.
That's great,
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
good.
It's also from 12 to 2 on the 6th.
You'll be there.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, there's plenty of time to
Yeah,
firm that up, but okay.
Yeah.
I'll put it on the
Okay,
calendar.
generally not before noon on a Sunday, but thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea, for everything on that, the Rockfall and the community outreach. Evan, I think you might be up next for inland wetlands.
Yeah, the only thing I have to report that connects with inland wetlands is the new development at the end of Lord Meadow. The old Lord's Woods development, the Awa property.
Uh-huh.
And we have to, I'm going to go up there hopefully tomorrow, if weather permitting, that to see if there's any indication of if I can find any of the markers for the property that the town owns, that the trail is hopefully on, going into the lay property.
I think you have my survey on that. I gave you
Yeah.
the full-size one. Also, about 3 years ago, George James, Mike Kiernan, and I went out there and measured that.
Yeah,
And
okay.
so, and at that point, it seemed to be well marked where it was. It wasn't changing any, so I'm just a little concerned why there's some questions on it now. And I'm
Well, there's also some question on the easement there's a conservation restriction on the property to the left of the
Yeah.
trail.
yeah.
And I'm going to see if if there was any indication. My guess is that as time went on and Dr. Awa wasn't selling any lots, and so he had no money coming in, that it's possible that the easement, the section of that lot to the left of the trail the easement wasn't marked.
Well, we marked the open space, so I'm surprised we
Yeah,
didn't.
no,
Let me know. And those markers are in the cabinet downstairs in the basement.
Okay.
To mark it.
Is
But-
Ann Gallagher on the call? Ann, have you called in?
Yes,
I don't-
Ann is here.
Oh,
Okay.
good, because Ann had.
I didn't know what is appropriate for me to chime in now or wait till the public comment, but
Well, we're
the
talking
issue I
about-
wanted to talk about.
I will I mean, the one of the chairs has raised it. I will defer to Evan if he wants to invite you to participate in the conversation.
Yeah, well, by all means, Ann.
Yeah, yes, it's Ann Gallagher from the Old Lyme Land Trust. I'm the chairman of the Stewardship Committee, and we have, I guess, an informal agreement with the Open Space Commission to maintain that entrance trail from the Lord Hill Lane parking lot to the Lay Preserve. And I don't know when that property was actually acquired by the town, but it's been there some time.
15 years
Um,
ago.
Yeah, what?
About 15 years ago.
Years ago, yeah. A couple weeks ago, went out with my husband, and we were primarily trying to find the northern boundary of the Lay Preserve, with just concerns about development and the impact, where the heron nesting rookery was and everything. But we did spend some time trying to locate the markers that are indicated on the survey. And my concern about that path is it's very narrow. It's 21 feet, I think, and we were only able to find about half of them. And I could not really give you 100% assurance at all that the trail is even on that 21-foot strip unless those markers are placed. And I guess what I wanted to do this evening was to encourage you to have them placed as they were originally intended by a professional, because I really think it's worth the time and the effort to get that type of narrow entrance marks so that it's clear to both the patrons and of the property, to the stewards that are the volunteer stewards that are going to be maintaining this trail for years to come, and the abutting property owners, because I've just experienced this with land trust properties where people, the abutting properties, unless they know exactly where that property line is, they're going to start putting in sheds, invisible fences, dumping debris, and I just think it's going to be helpful to all involved to take the time to have those original markers, make sure that they're reestablished if they're now missing, and I believe many of them are. But it looks to me like the town wisely decided to have them marked at a fairly frequent interval there. It's like every 100 feet, which is pretty frequent for those types of, iron pillars. And they've just kind of through the years been lost, maybe, moved out by a snowplow on the road section or who knows what. But that's my urge to you.
Do you have a metal detector? I think Pierre Rooney does.
No, I don't have a metal detector, and I've worked with Pierre on these types of projects before, and I don't believe that he has not volunteered that either.
Well, he volunteered it on one of mine.
Yeah, I guess my position is this is town property, and we're, I think the land trust is happy to maintain the trail, but the actual property boundaries this is town property. So I think we're kind of overstepping our bounds, saying where that is.
I just would like to make a suggestion, because I've talked to surveyors on this. And when they set the iron pins, they set them below the grade.
Right.
Now, George James put that trail in. And he was on the land trust on open space at the time. I just thought if Pierre had an opportunity to go out and locate them, it might be helpful. That was one thought. Number two.
Yeah. I just worked with Pierre a couple of weeks ago on another property, and unless he has a brand new metal detector, it's not Pierre. I don't know of anyone on the trust who has one.
Okay, so my number two thought is have either of the lots on either side of the trail been developed? Are they been?
The last time we were there, they were just cut right very close to the trail, but and then it looks like maybe a driveway going in.
There's always been a driveway on the right.
Started clearing and developing. Yeah.
Right. My thought was to ask Dan Beret, who everybody who builds has to go through all these departments, saying you are potentially encroaching on town space, and we need to have the properties marked. So put the burden on the landowners, not on the town.
Yeah, well, however it's done would be fine with me. I just, as somebody trying to maintain a trail and had some experience with this, I just would much prefer that it's very visibly marked.
Well, it's just very expensive to do.
I don't know that it would be because, they have the location information on the plan. They just need to go out there and find it and remark it.
Well, but that means survey equipment coming out and remeasure and put it. Yeah, I bet it's over $1,000.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So maybe
I guess everything's relative. Yeah. Sure, but.
That's a nice way to say it's coming out of someone's budget. But let me see if maybe Evan or I can go talk to Dan Beret, and when they pull out the permits for the building, we can say the town wants them to be remarked, their lot lines remarked, because it's encroaching on town property. That's maybe an easier way to handle it.
Way to do it, and
Well,
maybe. Yeah.
Let me interject a minute. There are two more lots there that are being looked at by the Wetlands Commission, and I'll have a chance to talk to Dan at that point.
Thank you,
So,
Evan.
I think you're right. It's incumbent on the lot owner to know where his lot boundaries are, and also to know that at least one of the lots, I think it's maybe one lot, is restricted by a conservation easement.
Yeah, I think the one to the east. Yeah.
Yeah.
One to the left. So I think, and the town needs to know they're not violating side setbacks, blah, blah, blah. So I think the property owner, the developer, he's going to make enough money on it, needs to mark those lot lines.
Yeah.
So, and that way you'll be happy, won't come out of our budget, and we'll be happy. So that would be
Yeah.
nice.
That would be ideal. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
No,
I'll
I
do
just
this
hate,
all the
I
time.
just hate to see, volunteer stewards, a few years from now get involved, trying to, address, issues with adjoining property owners and arguments over where the boundary actually is, et cetera. So,
Yeah, so the lot lines go along, so we'll see what we can do. Speaking of volunteers, I was sent a copy of the meeting between Tinker and the land trust and a few other things the other day. You handled it very well. I just wanted to express our gratitude to you, since you seems to be the bearer of bad news according to the Black Hall Pond people. But I still think that they need to contact the 6 or 7 other property owners and find out. It's not only your responsibility. And that never really came across. I just kind of ducked that issue. But good job on the tape.
mhm. Thank you. I don't think we have anything more to say on beavers.
Okay. And I'm finished with my inland wetlands.
All right.
Okay, and Gary Gregory is not here, so
He is, I believe he is.
Oh, Gary, you here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you on there.
It's laying low.
So, wise man. Okay, Conservation Commission report.
Well, there's nothing going on for sure. There's just a couple of maybes. One would be water quality testing of some of the rivers in town. And right now, they don't have the capability of doing brackish water, so that limits us to where we could test. The other thing is a possibility of trying to restore alewives to the Black Hall Pond. Both of those things are like up in the air now.
Does anybody, Gary, does anybody know how long it's been since alewives have not been in the pond?
Somebody knows. I don't know. I've heard you could walk across the pond on them. So, and Bucky Brook was named because of it was a solid wall of fish migrating up.
Yeah, but that could have been in colonial times. I mean, that was so it may be hundreds of years since Bucky Brook had any real Buckies in it.
Well, no, I mean, I've talked to some people that told me that they saw it. I mean, people my age, I would say. So whether that could be hundreds of years too. But, yeah. So I could find out that for you.
Yeah, because there were some impediments in Bucky Brook. There were some dams, and obviously there was that culvert that was under the trail that came from Whippoorwill Road into what's now the Ames property. I think Steve Ames' father put, and maybe Jim Mildren put in a culvert.
Yes.
Which would impede the passage of, depending on how it was put in, impede the passage of alewives up into the pond. And so it may be, it could have been done in the 60s when the Ames family was taking timber out of that property.
I wonder if it was prior to 95 going in.
Well, I looked at the culvert on 95 because I talked to somebody from the deep that said when they put all of 95 in, they didn't consider anything going up and down those streams. So
Yeah.
it used to be like a foot drop off when they put it in. But I've been down there now at low tide and it's like 6 inches of water. So
The culverts don't line up, do they? So if the one where the culvert on 95 on the north side, on the Ames open space side, doesn't line up with the one, isn't it off the one on the southerly side?
Well, the one on the south side of 95, there is a path now. I guess originally it wasn't, but I guess the water levels come up a little bit. And now there is a path.
Yeah, well, the water,
Under
the tidal,
95.
the tidal water has, which is, the Black Hall is tidal all the way up to 95.
Yeah.
And that has risen probably 6 inches in the last, 60 or 70 years, however long it's been since 95 was built.
Well, I was talking, I don't remember who, and they told me that they can't get under 95. And I went down there at low tide and there's 6 inches of water in that pipe. So they can get through there. The rest of the way we'd have to check it out, but
Yeah.
Good luck on your endeavor.
Okay. Well, thanks, Gary.
one of the things that I just read the masterpiece today, or part of it there, the grant, we're talking about herring in that Black Hall River. So that would be nice if we could get them in there. I think that would be a great thing to do. It's a bait fish for the sound. It used to be all these rivers had herring in them. Now there's very few that do. So we've just about screwed up the bait fish situation. So
Yeah,
if,
well,
if it could be done, we should try to do it.
Open space. Thank you for your report.
Okay. Any new business? I guess there's no any public comment. Suzanne, you've been very patient. You have to discuss. You're on mute. You're muted.
No, I'm good. Anne covered everything. So I think we're good.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for your patience and your participation.
I enjoy it. Thank you.
Suzanne, I just want to mention that I've emailed, I think I CC'd you on for the Hikers Happy Hour, and I have not received any response at all. Just to
Okay, I'm not sure I saw that, but I'll go back and look. But
yeah,
okay,
it's been a while. It's been a while because I sent
Okay.
an email out this fall and then a follow-up. So maybe I'm leaving next Thursday for a while. Maybe I'll send another one just to see if.
Okay, this is to Old Lyme Inn you're talking about.
Yeah, events at Old Lyme Inn.
Yeah.
But I'd like to just firm those dates up. And I just want to mention, we haven't discussed it as a board, but in the past, we have done the Midsummer Festival, adjoining booths and.
Right, but we haven't had it in 2 years, so I don't know what's happening this year.
Okay, but if you do, we'd be interested. So I just thought I'd pass that along.
Okay, I'll make sure they know that.
Okay. Anybody else would like to ask a question or make a comment?
Yeah, I submitted a question to the chat room about signs. We could use a couple more trails closed sign. I'm not sure whether you can buy those off the shelf or they have to be made up specifically.
Peter, I may have one that I took off somewhere. It was maybe the Yellow Trail on Champlain North going to the Old Lyme Inn. So I can
Okay.
drop that off, or let me look for it. I think it's somewhere on my desk. I don't know why it ended up there, but it.
Kevin, can we take the one off of the Ames entrance across from Pfeiffer's? And that's there's that it's on that tree log arm that we have, it says trail closed. And it has the Ames open space. I don't know if we want to talk about taking that sign down even.
I would like to keep a trail closed, some sort of indication that
Okay.
that trail is no longer, because it's still on some, I mean, if people have old maps that show that trail
Still on
and,
the maps.
um,
And you
so I
want to
think
keep
it
the sign up?
best to keep that sign up, but I have a small yellow sign that's, I think says trail closed. I'll check it out and, somehow get it to you,
Yeah, let me,
Peter.
again, I'll be back beginning of February. I can come by your office or your home and pick it
Yeah.
up. Yeah, Gary had mentioned putting up another sign on Ames, where it's been flooded. So we can do that too. So that's really
Yeah.
one more at least anyway. So yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
let me know.
I
Okay.
may have one. If I get it, I'll put it in the kiosk going into Ames.
Okay.
Does that be okay with you? I'll let you know where I do with it if I find it.
If I order signs, it's very expensive. So I'd rather take an inventory and see what signs or anything we need.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
there's-
there's that sign place over in Essex, and there's one in Old Saybrook. They may have some laying around, but to order from Voss, it's just a big handling charge. So we might want to look at if we need any other ones before we do it. So I don't think we had, you checked in the cupboard downstairs and you said there weren't any.
Right. Yeah, there weren't any.
Okay.
Let me check with Connecticut Forests and Parks. They got plastic trail closed signs that would work fine.
Oh, yeah,
I can-
yeah, and just, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. If there's no more further public comment, have a motion to go into executive session.
I so move.
Is
Second,
there a second?
Amanda.
Okay, before we enter into executive session, I would like to respectfully ask that the land trust reps on the meeting and non-members log off, and I will stop recording as well.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Hi,
Okay, thanks, Suzanne. Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you, Suzanne.
and thank you, Peter.